want to fend for myself, and I want to build people up for them to fend for themselves. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Free Like Me podcast. I'm your host, Clark Fredericks. I've been through hell and back, and I've realized the way to overcome your trauma is to be transparent and to be open about it and to help others be open and heal from their trauma. And the motto of the podcast is, come speak your truth and be free like me. I would ask that you would go to my YouTube channel and please hit the subscribe button. We need increased statistics and increased numbers to keep getting great guests. And if you find these useful, please share them. Let's get this sucker to grow. And this week we have Sean. He's coming on to talk about the horrors of his youth at the hands of his father. And you're going to hear some really horrific stuff. And you may ask yourself, why would someone be willing to talk about what he's going to talk about? And the reason is to free himself, to not let shame and guilt hold him back in life. And that's the whole purpose of this show. So let's hear from Sean, and let's be free like me. Sean, my brother.
What's up?
Mr. Sean Miller, thanks for being here.
How's it going?
We're going to talk about the horror of your life, where it drove you, and people are going to hear some really disturbing stuff at the hands of your father. And why, people may say, why is he willing to talk about such horror? And what would you answer them?
The truth, the truth shall set you free. And for many years, my life was a prison.
Right.
A mental prison.
Before I ever went to prison, I had
was
been in a 30-year prison,
Right.
Self-imposed.
Right.
You too.
Right.
Yeah.
So the second I started speaking in front of people, to people, about my past, what got me there, what created that person, and then, ultimately what led me down to being the person I am today. If it wasn't, I hate to say it this way, but if it wasn't for all that tragedy, I would have never made it to this point.
Right. Right.
It's twisted, but it's true.
I had a guest on a few weeks ago, Christina, and she was abused, horrible abuse by a family member. And I asked her if she would change that. And she said, her response was, change and choose are two very different things. The spot I'm in now with life, which I love, I wouldn't change my past. Would I choose to go through that? No.
No.
But now that I've gotten to where I'm at, would I change it? No.
Absolutely.
Is that sort of what you feel?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Because it created this version of me, which is a so much better version of me than I've ever been, both mind, body, and soul.
You were in some pretty low, dark places.
I mean, really dark,
Like
really low.
Like the audience is going to hear this, and this is where unresolved trauma can take you.
I explain it like this: no one puts a needle in their arm that wants to stay alive. Right. I was literally afraid to commit suicide, but I did it that way.
Right.
Or tried to.
And I've heard that from so many guests too.
But the Lord had different plans for me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So many people have said, I didn't care about living. I wasn't willing to commit suicide, but I'd kill myself with drugs and alcohol.
The pain was so intense, so immense, that I just wanted it all to stop. You hear people about all of the voices and just make, the thoughts and the feelings stop for 5 minutes. Well, 5 minutes wasn't good enough after a while.
Right.
And 5 minutes became 5 hours, and then 5 hours became 5 years, and 5 years, multiplied twice.
Right. I mean, and that's the problem with drugs and alcohols. They actually work. they'll kill you.
There
They'll
are
take you.
treatment to that symptom. Yes.
Yeah, they'll
Absolutely.
they'll make those intrusive thoughts,
Mm.
float off into the distance.
Absolutely.
But they'll also take you to hell.
Yeah.
And that's what happens to all of us.
Living
Yeah.
hell. You know?
And what was the pain? Like, was it when you say, I wanted the pain to go away? Is it just the thoughts, the memories? Was it like a spin cycle, just over and over and over to the point of driving you nuts?
The way I explain it is, it's more than just a Rolodex of constant flashing pictures and little, video clips in my mind. There's also, as vibrant as the colors are, so are the sounds, so are the feelings. I've really, my new self has really been getting in touch with my feelings because, ultimately that's what leads to the rage, is if I don't address the hurt.
So you're not only in your mind seeing the images of your childhood,
Tasting
you're smelling
everything.
You're a smell that would trigger you, a taste, a touch,
Absolutely.
whatever. You're reliving it
every day,
not 24 hours a day.
Every day.
Right.
I'm getting goosebumps just saying it because I don't live that today.
And transparency and openness and talking about it keeps it at bay.
Absolute freedom.
That's what it did for me.
It's it. Because I don't like being angry. I like the version of me when people are like, oh, you're so funny, you're so light-hearted, and you're a person of the light, I enjoy that person. I don't enjoy the monster I helped create.
Right. Same.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, yes, these experiences might have triggered me to go down certain paths. I still made the choice.
Correct.
I still chose, let's go to the dark side.
Right.
Every time.
Right.
I love Darth Vader.
Right. Right.
And I still do. But I am realizing now I'm not a person of the dark. I am of the light, and that without that truth, without that freedom, I would have never gotten to this point without all of it. Bottom line.
Right. So let's
go in.
Yeah, let's take me back where young Sean was born, raised.
1976. I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn guy, huh?
Yes, sir. Sheepshead Bay at first.
Oh yeah.
Right on the bay. I remember I have a vivid memory of tossing patio stones that my dad had just bought into the bay, and he rented scuba gear and fished them out.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't happy.
What age was that at?
My mom said you must have been 6 months old. I said, you're crazy. How can I have that memory? She's like, I'm telling you that this time period, this is where you're at. I'm like, you're kidding me. So trauma made my memories vivid at a very early age because from the time I was born, this man was having his way with me. He was molesting me.
When we say this man,
My father.
your father.
Yeah.
So your earliest memories of him, it's just molestation and horror.
Pretty much. I mean, if it wasn't sexual abuse, it was physical abuse, like beating. It was, downgrading, verbal abuse. It was psychological abuse.
Can you take me into some of each? Like,
Yeah.
Let's start with like verbal abuse.
Okay, so, I remember, you're good for nothing. You'll never be nothing. You're never going to amount to nothing. If, all these little, things that chipped at my interior.
And this is that from the earliest age?
I mean, literally, anytime he got mad at me, those were the very, you're never going to do nothing right, fuck everything up, all that stuff, So it was verbal.
So that's verbal. What about the mental?
Psychological.
Or psychological.
Yeah, the psychological, to me, was so much worse because it was like literally going into my brains and scrambling them. He literally wanted to downgrade me and break me. at an early age. I don't know why. He was training me to pee. I remember this. I dribbled on the seat. And he told me, now go down and lick it up.
Lick the pee off the toilet seat.
Yeah. And that really, that I must have been a year, maybe a year and a half. I don't know. I was an early developer. Like, I was walking early. I was talking early. I had a high IQ when I was younger. I don't know about now. But yeah, he wanted to break me. And then there was sexual abuse,
And I mean, what would he do? Come in the middle of the night?
So yeah, it was
What he do
it was
when you're-
always. So here's the thing. My mother, I tend not to talk about her because I protect her. But she wasn't there.
Right.
This is something I never talk about. She was never there. And when she was there, she was drunk. And she was good for a good beating too, when she was a drinker. When she got clean, she tried to become the mom that she never was. And of course, I rebelled.
Would she be out of the house? Would she be in the house? Would he come in the middle of the night? Would
So sometimes she'd be at work. Sometimes she'd be there passed out on the couch. Sometimes he'd sneak into the room. I remember there's another vivid memory I have of my bedroom. There was a steam pipe in the corner. And I remember burning my hands trying to get away from him, climbing up the steam pipe. And then my mom, of course, rushed me to the ER and sat with my hands in a bowl of ice. He burned my hands another time with an iron to teach me that the iron was hot. He ran it over the back of my hands. Again, she sat with my hands in a bowl of ice all night. Another time, he wanted to take me for a bike ride and didn't have a baby seat. So he bungeed me to his magazine rack in the back, and my feet bounced off in and out of the spokes, and he just kept riding. And I still have the scars from that on my heels. It was every kind of torture you could think of. And when I addressed it with him years later, because I wanted to free myself and let him know I forgive him, which freed me of a lot of anger. Not all, but a lot. And it didn't happen overnight. But
I always advise people. I always advise people not to go confront their abuser, especially a family member, because they'll never get the answer they want. Like, they'll never hear, "I'm sorry, I don't know why, I'm sick, forgive me." That's just like, "You're nuts, get out of here, you're crazy, you're a slut, you're a whore," whatever it may be. What was your father's response?
You are correct to a certain degree. I mean, you're not going to get the answer. No one is, let me say this loud and clear, no one is ever going to get the answer they're looking for. Okay? But it's not about that. Okay? For me, it was about letting him know I forgive him to free my anger.
Right.
Because I hated everything and myself and everyone and everything. Just a rotten person. It turned me, like, those life things that happened to me turned me into an evil, evil, evil man.
Which is what I say. If you want to forgive, if you want to utter those words to your abuser, it should be up to you. No third party should ever tell a victim, you need to go forgive.
No, that's your choice.
Because they don't know what they're talking about.
That should be totally of your own.
But if you feel you need to utter those words, and that's what's going to help you get past it, by all means.
Because the whole conversation was, you're crazy. Your mother put those memories in your head. I said, memories? You can't implant memories. Thoughts, maybe. Memories, taste, touch, feels, smells, wetness, like, ugh. I literally, and as I speak it right now, I'm flashing.
You're going back to
I'm
it.
flashing. I can't stop the flash. I just have to let it happen.
For how long did this abuse go on?
Well, at an early age, my mom got divorced from him and moved out. So, like, 2, she took me and got her own apartment. So that's when it was just us. And that's when her abuse came in to play more. Physical neglect, abandonment, large abandonment issues. You know, I worked a lot in the dancing industry as a security person, and you know, they would say, "Oh, daddy issues." This, I got mommy issues. You know,
Right.
I got mommy and daddy issues. But yeah,
So mom was a drinker. Was dad a drinker?
he was. However, anytime I've brought these situations up in the time period and everything like that, he'll tell me, "Oh, I was sober then." That makes it even worse.
Right.
Huh? Yeah. So,
And somebody hearing this would be like, all right, there's no way an animal like this who's making his son lick urine off the toilet seat, who's sexually abusing him, who's mentally abusing him, physically abusing him. There's no way an animal like this can function in society, can have a job. What did this street urchin living under the bridge father do for a living?
what did I do for a living?
What did he do?
Oh, what did he do? Oh, he was a lieutenant in the United States Navy.
A lieutenant in the United States Navy.
And then he was a manager for AT&T for many years. Yeah,
I mean, isn't it you know, like the Navy, which is about discipline and structure.
Well, that's why he was trying to break me early. Get me in the mindset of the military early. And it kind of did. When I was 18, I wanted to be a Marine just to piss him off. I would have been a good Marine, but I should have lied on the application a little better.
You know, my last few guests have the vivid memories. Even my first guest, you know, Michelle, you know, her memories go back to the early years. But, you know, and then Christina was 3 years old. And like, people are like, you can't remember past the age of 5. Yeah. If you have horrific things done to you, you'll remember.
Trauma does something to a brain. I don't know the biology of it, okay? But what I do know is the experience of it. And from a very early age, as I told you earlier, I have memories back to 6 months old of me climbing a bookcase in a house that I shouldn't even remember. This house was technically haunted. Every morning at 3 a.m., the cabinets would flap open and close. So that was another reason my mom wanted to get out of there. But you can't have memories this vivid, okay? And when I say vivid, I mean not only visuals, but we're talking about taste, hearing, you know, touch, every one of your senses. Imagine if something was wet, you're gonna feel that it's wet in your brain. And it works that way because of the trauma. The trauma kicks in the brain. For that memory anyway.
I mean, did you share with your mother later on, you know, as you got older, what had happened with your father?
I was an angry kid. Okay, very angry kid. I didn't share with anybody anything. And when I say angry, I mean, if I didn't want to take a test, I would take the test and the pencil and go under the desk, eat the test, and then eat the pencil. I don't have a test. Angry.
Didn't you tell me at one point you chased your grandmother around with a knife?
Yeah, these ones hurt the most because that woman was my protector, my guardian.
Yeah, but it's just your stuff's boiling to the surface.
You hurt the ones you love the most. I don't know why, but you feel comfortable in the fact that they're always going to be there, I guess. So, and they're not. But yeah, she wouldn't let me go outside and play, or something, some adult rule that I didn't want to listen to. So I grabbed the carving knife off the dining room table and I proceeded to chase her around that dining room table. I don't know, a couple laps, but it was horrific enough. Like that's crazy. It's crazy. And eventually I wound up telling my grandmother because, as I said, she was my best friend.
And at one point, didn't your mother even send you back to live with your father?
Well, it was unfortunate, but yes. She was still drinking at the time. She didn't stop drinking till I was 15 years old. I was about 13. We were getting out of Brooklyn. She had paid for a house to be built in the Poconos. The house was, they screwed up the deadline, and the house wasn't going to be ready for another year. So we had nowhere to go. Except we had like a summer home, a trailer, in a little development that was seasonal. So no kids were allowed to go to school from that development. So, I mean, when I think back to it, she made the best choice she could, but it was horrible. I mean, nothing happened while I was there. I was too old at that point. He was scared of me. I was too tall, too angry.
Did he have, after they got divorced, did he have visitation rights?
So,
Did
so
you have
here's
to
the thing.
spend time with him?
After they got divorced, he did. He had alone time until I told my grandmother, what had happened. And then I remember there was a couple different court battles, I specifically remember sitting in a judge's chamber, and the judge asking me, who do you want to be with? And I said, my mom. But yeah, I mean, no charges were ever brought up on this man. Nothing ever happened, It was just like, it was swept under the table. The divorce happened, blah, blah, blah. She kept me away from him for a while. After a while of him arguing and yelling and screaming and sending all this other stuff, he wound up getting visitation of me again. I never wanted to go.
Can you recall any, what the visits were like?
Oh, well, I mean, listen, for every bad thing the man did, like he taught me how to ski. One of my favorite things in the world. I haven't been doing it. I told my daughter, this year we're going back up on that mountain. We'll show you what your dad can do. They think I'm all talk because I've been broken. I've been diseased. I've been sick. I couldn't do that. I need my medicine, not a lift ticket.
Right.
This year we're getting lift tickets.
You had mentioned something also to me, and I did very similar thing. Like our PTSD affects us in many ways, and I used to sleep with my hunting knife right under my bed, and it wasn't enough for it to be in its sheath. Like that would take too long to get it out. Yeah. So then I would have to have it out. Then I had a loaded shotgun under my bed, but then it wasn't. I had to have the safety off because it would take too long to click the safety on. So
it's amazing how paranoid you get on cocaine.
and you said something similar, like you slept with a knife under your pillow.
I mean, it's not just a knife. I mean, it started with a knife. Yeah, it was a knife and a taser. It was my collection grew as my paranoia grew. At one point, I had, a whole gun safe, never closed, with everything off safety and
Same
loaded.
thing. That I never heard from you. Yeah. So
I had a Sega shotgun towards the end, and it had the banana clip with the 11 rounds or something. And I alternated buck, slug, and then I filed the pin down. This is the insanity of this disease where it takes you.
And who are you? Are you protecting? Is your mind telling you to protect yourself from your father?
My mind's telling me to protect myself from all.
That's what my mind would tell me.
It doesn't matter.
Right. Somebody's going to come through that bedroom door.
If you're a threat, you're getting it.
Right.
Hot ones.
Right.
And it's because of him. He's going to taste this, like in a way.
We've never talked to this, and I've never shared this on any podcast I've done or on my own post. But let me see if you can relate to this at all. Like all right, so I got abused early on. Mm-hmm. I had trauma with my next door neighbor committing suicide, who we suspect was abused by the same guy. And then, like the year after I graduated college, my 80-year-old grandmother gets her house broken into in Naples, Florida, tied up, tortured, raped, murdered. And from that point forward, I could not go into our empty house without going through every single room, every door. Absolutely. Like I always, the scariest moment for me was pulling back the shower curtain. I was convinced, like, all right, get ready. There's going to be somebody behind this shower curtain. I'd rip it open as quick as I could, and I'd be like, ready. And this was every time I went into the house.
It was the
closets.
I would
have to go through, the closets too.
And the little attic access for me. But yes,
so you did the same thing.
I did a house check every time.
Every time, man.
Her mother, okay, my daughter's here with us, by the way. But yeah, her mother, she's like, you're insane. Like who's gonna get me? The Cookie Monster in the corner? There was a little stuff, Cookie Monster. Huh. So, no one's here. No one's gonna be here. And this was even before cocaine.
Yeah, the work, right. Like when I was going home to like stay up all night doing coke,
right.
I got to make sure that house is cleared,
locked down,
and locked
down,
and the blinds are down.
Just one piece of blind, leave that open.
And then you're like just standing still in the middle of your room, listening,
and you think
you hear a sound,
and you think this is fun. Let's go have a good time,
right?
At my house.
Right, and then it's like peering out every window. Yeah. So it's the same thing. Yeah,
it really is. It really is. It's a traumatic response, is what it is. PTSD. A lot of guys. Like I flinch at fireworks, but that's from a different PTSD.
Right.
That's a PTSD I put upon myself. Robbing drug dealers, like. You're going to get shot at. You're going to get stabbed. You're going to get shot.
All right, well, let's get into that. You're dealing with this trauma as you go into your teens. Do you start experimenting with drugs, alcohol?
So I was a scared, like, even though I was angry and a tough guy, I was a very scared person, okay? Scared of the girls, scared of the alcohol because of my parents, scared of the drugs because of Nancy Reagan and the fried egg. I didn't know if I was going to be a fried egg, so I didn't. At that point in time, I smoked half a joint, and it was probably oregano, until I was out of high school. The second I turned 18, the gloves came off. I started smoking weed. I mean, I drank a little bit, but I was always scared of the alcohol, like. Always. Even I never think, even when I relapse, I never, I'm going to drink because that's not drugs, I never do that because I know what alcohol does. I've seen it. I've seen it in myself. I become very violent instantly. Well, that version of me did.
So in your high school years, you're not really
I'm
hitting substances too much?
I'm hanging out at the parties, okay? I'm watching them have sex in front of me and party and drink and whatever. I'm just not doing it. I'm just observing until 18.
And what happens at 18?
I quit school at 16 and I was working the whole time. About 16 and a half, I got juvenile locked up because of one of my angry episodes. I wasn't going to school. My mom got the phone call, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I'm taking your car. And of course, it was like, the fuck you are? I'll show you. So she took my car to the bus stop where she then gets on a bus and goes to work in the morning in the city from the Poconos. So I'd call a friend, have my friend drop me off at that bus stop with my spare key. I take my car and I leave. And in my mind, I say, have fun walking, bitch. That's what I thought. Well, I wound up getting 13 months.
For doing that?
Unauthorized use of a motor vehicle.
Really?
While on probation for 172 counts of breaking and entering and criminal trespass.
So before the car incident, you had been breaking and entering?
I was the foot that kicked open the doors where we partied. It was a seasonal, not seasonal, but a lot of people came up in the summer. So all, fall, winter, most of the spring, they were empty. Little cottages.
This is out in the Poconos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so you're just kicking in? And
I would kick in. We would hang out. They would party. I would party with them. I just wouldn't use until I believe it was 19. I was, and that's when everything started. The acid, the mushrooms, the experimenting, this, that, Xanax, Valium. I learned what I liked, what I didn't like,
Any reason why at 19 it all of a sudden kicked in?
I lost my virginity, and now I just wanted to party with girls to get naked because I have a psychological sexual disorder that, I literally, this thing that happened to me is generational, okay? What happened to me happened to my dad by his grandmother. What happened, to her happened to her by someone else. It's a sick disease, just like alcohol or anything else, and it's followed the generations. But not anymore.
Right.
Not anymore. She could tell you that.
So the buck stops with you as far as
listen,
abuse with
I have been
children,
a bad
your child.
I've been a bad dad. I've made some bad choices, but I'm human, right? If I die today, I die happy, knowing the one good thing I did on this planet was be a dad.
Right.
I broke the curse. My sister, who I very rarely speak to, we were having a conversation one day, and she said, you did it. Because this happened to her, too.
By your father?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it fucks you up, man.
So he was an equal opportunity abuser.
Dare I say a hole is a hole?
Yeah.
We didn't go that far in my memories. As far as I remember, it's just oral touching and that weird shit.
Right.
And then a lot of physical abuse. But I'm sure there was more I'm blocking out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we all block out a certain amount. That the mind says, I'll release.
You kind of have
I'll
to.
release a little to you, but you can't handle all of it.
So that's the thing is, so for many years, that anger was it was my shield. It protected me against you and everyone else in this room.
Right.
You're not a threat. Why am I angry? So I had to go into all that stuff, but I started to learn about, the tools in the toolbox, so to speak, coping mechanisms in those juvenile programs I was in. It was like a wilderness program, Vision Quest. It was popular. I don't know if it is anymore.
That's where you got sent?
Yeah. It was actually, listen, it was a life-changing experience for me. Most people I was locked up. I got to go to Florida and hike, in the Florida wilderness for 21 days. It's an experience I would have never had. I got to sail on an old-time sailing schooner up and down the East Coast, sail training program that they run, part of the program.
Right.
And it was amazing. She has pictures on her phone of my pictures of those experiences, like the van ride to Florida, to get on the ship. But it was amazing.
So it's not like gladiator school.
Listen, they made me think like you're going to be there busting rocks and splitting logs all day. And I kind of was splitting logs all day in the wilderness camp with the teepees. They needed firewood. So, like, obviously you're going to have minions do it, you know?
Yeah.
But like I said, a perspective, it's a perspective thing. Are you locked up or are you living an amazing life without your parent,
Right. In your 20s, you get diagnosed with testicular cancer.
No, that wasn't until my 30s.
30s?
Yeah, 34, 32, something like that.
And then you, from that cancer, you like ripped the muscles in your back or something?
Well, so like the radiation weakens everything, and they warn you, like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. They told me, don't have sex, you're still irradiated. Don't have sex for at least 2 weeks and afterwards, because, it could cause problems, blah, blah, blah. Miracle baby right there. That's the only time I've been away with a mother for 5 years. And it never happened. It happened with other people, but not me. Cancer was a positive thing in my life. But it also was a negative because the radiation did weaken everything. And when I went back to work, I had a very physically demanding job. I was the foreman at a large campground that was more of a condominium resort community. And
you hurt your back.
I ripped my back out.
And then a doctor prescribes you pain pills?
Well, I went to my chiropractor first because I for years I was warned about these things. Don't go near them. They're dangerous, blah, blah, blah. So I go to my chiropractor and he takes some x-rays and he's like, I'm not even touching you. He's like, that's how bad it is. You have to go to this doctor. And he gave me the business card for this other doctor, a pain management doctor. So I go to see this gentleman with a shiny Rolex on. And, 2 scripts a month become 4, become 6, become 8. Become, I can't deal with you anymore. So I go to another doctor, until finally the insurance company says, we're dropping you. You're dependent. I'm like, yeah, but I have to be weaned off these medications. You can't just drop me. And they said, well, that's your problem. Pay out of pocket. Well, I started buying pills on the street for a while, and that's very expensive.
Yeah, back when you and I were probably doing them, it's $1 a milligram.
$1 a milligram. So you got a 40 milligram pill, one pill, $40.
Right.
One day there were no pills around. And I called up my baby mama. And I'm like, listen, I can't find anything. Do you have, because she had really bad back problems and had surgery, and she's got a hell of a story too. Let's put it that way. And so I asked her, and she's like, I don't know about that, but I can get this and you won't be sick. So I went over to her house.
And when she says I can get this, what is this?
Oh, dope. Heroin, hands down.
So you go to her house?
I go to her house. She already had it there. Surprise. And she's like, here, sniff half of this. Be very careful. I don't want you to kill yourself. And I said, no, here's what you're going to do. You're going to put the whole thing into that, and you're going to put it in my vein.
First time trying heroin, you want her to shoot you up.
Oh, I'm an all or nothing personality, sir. I do it right or I don't do it at all, So put it in me. Like, come on, I don't know how to do this. You do, let's go. Like I didn't pay, but I helped her through school so she could become certified nursing assistant or whatever, which, her life didn't allow that to happen anyway, but she got the training. So do it. And we fought, for 2 hours. I'm yelling and screaming at her, calling her every nasty word in the book. You fucking do this now. She snot bubbles popping out, crying. That's a traumatic experience, and finally she broke and she did it, and I was in love.
First shot in love.
In love. I puked. I instantly puked right on the floor. Started pouring sweat, sat up, and the whole room changed, and my whole world changed, and I was okay. I was okay. Wait. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. I don't feel anything.
I don't taste anything.
Mm.
The Rolodex in my mind
Hello, beautiful.
isn't spinning.
Can we get married?
Right.
Will you move in?
Right.
Will you come ruin my life for me, please? She did it.
That's what you asked.
And she did it.
Meaning she being the drug.
Heroin.
Not your
yeah,
ex.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was all on me and heroin, right? Not her.
And you were off to the races from there. And this is your decline was later, like 34s when this happened.
I mean, listen, thanks to that program, I lived a very bountiful 20s, I did a lot of things in my 20s. I was bouncer at strip joints. I got to see some of the world. I had my own painting business for a little while. Some money was good. I've gone to many of the different martial arts, mastered a couple. Had to have my hands registered in Pennsylvania because it was mandatory. And now I'm all about peace. Peace, man.
Well, to get to the peace, we still have to go through hell. So
we're not out of hell yet.
So you do that first shot, instant love affair with heroin
for 8 to 10 years.
So the next 8 to 10 years are a slow descent into the abyss.
Well, at first it was slow and enjoyable, and then all of a sudden, somewhere along the lines, it picked up like a rocket ship and took off. And I lost my job of almost 20 years.
For what reason? Stealing?
I didn't get fired. These people that I worked for also helped raise me. It was a development that the summer home was in, without the water. Same place. So these people that are now on the board are people that, know me all my life. So they're like, we're going to give you 2 choices. We can A, call the cops, or you can B, grab your shit out of the shop and hightail it out of here. I said, thank you very much. And I took off because I don't want no cops. Right. Cops mean I got to stop doing dope.
Right.
Nope. So I started robbing and stealing it because I was robbing and stealing from my job. I was robbing and stealing from my mother. I was robbing and stealing from her husband. I was robbing and stealing. If it wasn't bolted down, it was coming with me. And if Xanax was in my system, I would walk into a store and just walk out with stuff. And bye, sir. This was before the self-checkouts.
Right.
Okay.
My guest, Wesley, a few weeks ago was living on Kensington Avenue in Philly.
Okay.
And I'm like, how would you get money? He's like, I would just walk into grocery stores, 2 cases of water, walk out like I paid for them, boom, sell the waters for $1 a thing on the street, go get high, next day, go to another grocery store, walk out, 2 cases of water, and you're doing this, you're just...
The hamster wheel.
You're just walking right out.
The giant hamster wheel, I call it. Yeah. Just walk right out with a whole air compressor. or yeah. I'm not kidding you. Just arrogant and bullheaded. Like, you hold your head, nobody bothers you.
Right.
And I guess
my buddy would do that at Home Depot. He would fill up the cart
Right.
With just anything in Home Depot and just walk right out like he owned the place.
And then I go to another Home Depot and say, I'd like to return this.
Right.
Oh, you like store credit? No, cash back, please. Or when they got slick to that, you get the store credit, you go sell the card.
Right.
There's always a way.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that way, wound me up in jail.
Eventually caught up with you.
After I was living under a bridge in Newark.
Whoa. Take me into that.
Well, that was the end for me. That was literally the end of the
This
end
is
of the end.
the 8 to 10 year point.
It's the end. It's the end of the 18th.
How do we end up in Newark, and how do we end up under a bridge?
I was living in motels in Sussex County, thanks to vouchers from the state. I was abusing those rights, getting kicked out of one, going to another, Eventually.
What would one have to do to get kicked out of a hotel?
Well, I mean, literally destroy the room, like leave needles everywhere, I almost said condoms, but I didn't use them, but, you just destroy the room.
Okay.
And then when they come to clean it, they get the fuck out of here.
Needles everywhere. I can't. Cleaning lady can't go in.
The second she saw an orange tip, call the cops. Oh, I'm out of here.
Right. Okay.
Because even though I gave them my real name and stuff at the desk, the address and everything on it was fictitious.
Bogus.
Well, old.
All right, so you're getting booted out of all these hotels. How do we get down to Newark?
So I have a Chevy Tahoe at the time.
Yep.
Me and my then girlfriend are going back and forth, and we're doing this check scam where we're basically taking these checks from up here, and we had the apps on our phones, and we would literally just write it out ourselves, take the picture. It would either clear for half in her account, or I would get the whole thing, and we'd just go down for about 6 months. And then we both got sick of the rat race, but she took off to a rehab.
Okay.
I was supposed to go the next day. I didn't go.
You weren't ready.
No. I was ready. I was being called. At that point, I didn't want to go. I had to go this way, though, because I didn't feel good. So I had to get right before I went. That's what my mind always told me. I'm not going if I'm not right.
Right.
So she left. I got we had the vehicle impounded. So I had to get the vehicle out of impound. We went down. I lied to them because I had 3 bricks inside the car and some other stuff, some cocaine, because I was doing speedballs at the end. So we sat outside the Wawa for a little while. I went over, I called them. I'm like, oh, I left my diabetic supplies and it's life or death. And of course the guy, well, if it's diabetic supplies, I guess, yeah, you can come. So I went, got my diabetic supplies. We sat in that parking lot at Wawa across the street for the rest of the night. I never picked up the car, okay? I had my dad wire me the money to pick up the car, the lieutenant, right? This was when I was in my talking to him, trying to forgive him phase. And he wired me, I don't know, $500, $600. And we went down with it. And I told her, you know what? You just go. And she left me there. Now this was before I moved in under the bridge, but she came back down, picked me up. Obviously, she went to her program. I was left in the motel alone with no vehicle, and I had to hustle my way back down to get my drugs, and then I had no way back. I was broke. So I moved in under the bridge by Johnson Ave in Newark. And I slept under that bridge for 9 months.
9 months under that bridge.
in the winter, wrapped up in blankets, like huddled with people for warmth.
There's other people under there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we huddled up like those robots in iRobot in the tank days. Yeah, huddled up.
All right, now let me just like throughout this 8 to 10 year descent, throughout the 9 months under the bridge, is your mind telling you throughout this whole run from 34 on, like, this isn't living? What are we doing? Like, this, what the hell has happened to us?
Probably after the first year or two, my mind was telling me that.
First year or two, you're like, hey, this is
right.
great.
This is great.
I'm in love with this drug.
I thought I was free.
Right.
You know, careful of wolves in sheep's clothing.
Right.
So.
And then after that 2 years, like, your mind's telling you, like, this is a disaster, but you just you don't do anything to change it.
I can't do nothing. I need this.
Try to explain to the audience what withdrawal is like. Why you say you can't. I have to get right.
So there's many, but when we're talking about just the heroin withdrawal, you know, heroin withdrawal, it feels like you're dying. Okay. Now I work in treatment now. So I have to explain this to the people well, I'm actually unemployed, but you know, I have been working in treatment. So I have to explain to these people, like, you're not dying. You know, it feels like you're dying. You're going to want to kill yourself, you know, just to stop it. But eventually it'll stop. You know, when I kicked in jail, I kicked cold turkey. No Suboxone, no methadone. I'm not saying people might not need it or whatever. I'm just saying my story. I did it hard and fast.
Well, when I was locked up, you know, the county jail I was in, you know, it's about probably 85% is all just heroin.
Well,
and they're coming in the same thing. Like, you know, they keep them on a med lock for 3 days and then release them, and like they're still in full blown withdrawal and like crapping themselves. And
not even. Ugh. I used to, when I would get locked up into that same jail. I would go in ready. You know, I would go in with a butt full, because then you become king. You didn't have to worry about commissary. You didn't have to worry about this. Now, in my enlightened self, the fuck? You're going with an ass full of drugs. Like, do you hear the rationality in this?
Right.
Like, I premeditated the whole thought and went through with it.
Right.
Just to get a honey bun.
just
to get a honey bun.
Because when you're withdrawn, I mean, you're craving sweets.
You need that sugar. You need a rush. You need any rush. Right. Adrenaline, anything works.
Coffee.
Yeah. Someone told me one time that meth was the best way to kick dope. I tried it. I wanted to kill myself then because I couldn't come down. I was up for 4 days. 4 days. Some of these experiences, I have little video clips in my phone that I have saved for those moments where I'm like, well, maybe it's a good idea again. You know?
Hey.
I opened that video and I'm like, she was looking through my phone one day and she saw one of her mother. Why is she in here? Because that was the motel room. And it was a bad experience. And it reminds me, that's not me anymore, and that's not her anymore, and that's not who we gotta be anymore. You know, her mother has turned her whole life around too. You know, I mean,
amazing.
It's a blessing.
So 9 months under this bridge, are you ever eating?
The only thing I was eating was sugar. So handfuls of like gummy things and just
Skittles,
sugar.
Gummy bears.
whatever, Snickers, ho-hos, ding-dongs. If it had sugar, it was going in for energy and
You're
to
not
keep me going.
having a
But
steak
I
ever.
was dropping. Like I was eating sugar, but I was, you know,
Yeah, you must have got down to.
yeah,
I mean, because you're a big dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, 6'3", 250 in my normal weight.
right.
You know, I was all the way down to about 190, 185,
Yeah.
and a size 32 waist when I went into that jail. I looked like not Mr. Garrison, the counselor from South Park, Mr. Mackey. It was just a giant head and a skinny body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how are you funding this run under the bridge? Just by stealing the groceries
I
and
would
doing whatever?
literally
Stealing wherever?
rob your grandmother if she had a purse on her.
Right.
I was sticking people up. It was bad.
Breaking in the car, or smashing whatever.
Cars, houses, apartments, trailers, you know, trunks. Like it didn't matter.
Are you guys? Is everybody under that bridge sharing with each other?
No.
You're all on your own.
Yeah. I would go do and then go back to the bridge. And, oh, you got something there? Nah, get the fuck out of here. I don't got nothing. I did it already.
Right.
Mooches.
And how does the 9-month under the bridge run come to an end? Getting arrested?
I mean, pure desperation, right? It was literally at the moment I was like fresh out of ideas, fresh out of drugs, fresh out.
You know, I like to know like the nitty gritty stuff.
Right.
Are you ever showering?
No showering.
Where are you crapping? Where are you going to the bathroom?
I mean, listen, sometimes my pants, you know, that's like if I was that sick and I was running, like I would literally just crap and run. It was a disgusting life. You know what I mean? Like no brushing of the teeth.
Yeah, that's my other question.
You know, all to the point where, you know, I have no teeth left. These are plastic. Okay. When this all went down, I had a mouth full of pretty teeth, you know, beautiful, big, white, straight teeth. Between the radiation and the heroin, it's just gone, and the sugar, they're gone.
So
Like-
you go to the bathroom wherever. You don't shower.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, if you're horny and you're under that bridge and there's a female there that is horny as well, you get together and you kind of like hold your nose. That's how nitty gritty. That's how nitty and gritty it is. It's nasty. It's straight nasty.
So anybody thinking they're going to control their drug use?
No. That drug is going to bend you over and have their way with you.
Right.
Bottom line.
Right.
They're going to do to you what has been done to us.
Right.
Bottom line. You're literally asking for it again by something else. What?
You thought the abuse as your
Right,
child
right,
was bad?
right.
You ain't seen nothing until what I get done with you.
Right. I'm going to do it one better.
Right. Which it really does.
It does.
Yeah.
It constantly one-ups itself. All the way to the point where I came back up to Sussex County area. I was in that motel that I was talking about earlier. And it was like 12 o'clock. And there was an ATM, you know, couple blocks down, but there were no blocks. So I was walking the side of the road. A nice police officer happened to ask me what was I doing out at that time of night dressed in all black. I said, I wear all black. I wear a lot of black all the time. You know, it's my color. And he's like, oh, well, do you have an ID? I'm like, I left it in the room. I was just going to, you know. He's like, all right, well, my computer's not working now. So you go back to your room, and if there's any problems, you'll know. And the next morning, now it's me and her mother, we're there. And the next morning, on the door. And she opens the door. They have warrants for me. So they take me in. They ask her name. She has warrants. They take her in. Luckily, my mom has the babies, you know. And Yeah, I was in that time I was in county for like I want to say 6 months. And they came, they came to my cell and they offered me drug court. They said, this is your option. You're going to do 15 years in prison or you're going to do 5 years on drug court maximum. I said, so you're telling me I can go out, smoke cigarettes, see my kids, touch a woman, like all these things. I just have to come and pee for you once a week? No problem. And so I committed to that, right? That idea, that concept that in 5 years I'll get high again.
Oh, that was your
My thing.
plan?
That was my thing. I will satisfy Your Honor. And then in 5 years, I'm going to get high. Something happened along the way,
Well, just one quote before we
Yeah.
just conclude with, what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Throughout your run of the 8 to 10 years of heroin use, are you ever overdosing?
Okay, so me and my ex had a little game of like who can overdose the most,
Really?
Who can pick us up, who can pick a naked body up off the floor in the bathroom. And unfortunately, my kids saw a lot of that.
Right.
I always wanted to do better than my father. And I know I have, but I still fucked them up.
Right.
There's some things they saw they should have never saw.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of overdoses.
Lots. 16, I stopped counting at 16 or 17. So obviously, like, there's a purpose for me to be here. Hell don't want me. Heaven don't want me. Purgatory don't even want me. What am I supposed to do now? So in that moment, I had an idea, like, you're supposed to be a father to these kids. So that was way before the jail thing, though.
So you do your drug court? Do you fulfill your commitment?
Well, I did. I maxed out. I did graduate.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I have too big of a mouth, and I'm a little bit of a smartass, and they don't like that, especially when they're wrong, and you're trying to explain to them this isn't right, and they don't like it. So, whatever the case is, I wrote it out. I maxed out. My oldest daughter, who I've raised 2 other daughters of non-biological, 20 and 18, 15 is my biological. Right. So my oldest daughter, she came with me and she sat in the pews and I'm like, baby, I'm not even graduating. Like, there's no real reason to even be here. He's just going to say thank you and toss me to the curb. She's like, oh, no, I'm going to say something. And she got up and she said, I don't care if my dad's graduating or not. I know I have a dad today because of this program. And I will say it to the day that I die, like, I didn't like drug court. It's there's definitely some improvements that can be made, but it's also saved my life. Right. If it wasn't for that program, I wouldn't have found other things, and if it wasn't for going to jail and having that it was just me in the cell. And I dropped on that concrete to my knees. Big guy, still to my knees. And they didn't even hurt. And I begged him to make it stop. Like, just make it stop. Like, I want to be a dad. I want to be a good person. Just make it stop. And the whole fucking cell lit up and got warm, like the sun was in it. I know it sounds crazy, but it happened. It happened. And the next week, she came walking in with the papers for drug court. He made it stop. Now, I put a lot of work into it, you know, but he made it happen. And when I say he, I refer to God,
Right.
okay? A higher power, whatever you want to call it, okay? This spiritual entity that surrounds us on a daily basis. And I've been going to NA. I've been really involved in NA. I've worked in recovery.
How long have you been clean?
This time, I will have 5 years on January 23rd.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, I did. When my mom died, I had a little slip up.
How long were you clean before she died?
2 years.
So you got close to 7 years minus
Yeah.
a relapse when your
a
mom
little
died.
3 day bender. Yeah.
3 days out of 7 years.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you went from living under a bridge in Newark, you know, for those from around the country or in
Around the
other
world,
countries that are, you know, in New Jersey we got a couple cities that are really, really notorious for drugs: Patterson, Camden, and Newark's, you know, been the granddaddy for a long time.
They have the biggest, best ones, you know?
So, you know, so just so people know, like, you're in, you know, the drug capital of New Jersey, living under a bridge, and now you've got 5 years clean.
So when you're robbing the drug dealers, you know it's bad. Like, when you're getting shot in the leg, you know it's bad. You know,
You've been shot.
I've been shot in the leg right here.
Stabbed,
Sliced, bit,
stabbed, sliced, shot.
I mean, the stab, slice, bit stuff came from the bouncer days, but the shot came from
the drug dealer
running down the block. Yeah, I was running, and all I remember is this hot feeling in my knee. Like, I heard the bang, but I kept running. I was
adrenaline.
Right, and then it just got real hot and wet, and I looked down. I put a belt on it. It was bad.
If somebody listening like is thinking about heroin, fentanyl,
if
drug
you're thinking
use,
it's a good idea,
and if you want that type of life, shot, stabbed, living under a bridge, overdosed 16 times minimum,
losing all your teeth,
in and out of jail because you're robbing anything and everyone blind. If that's the life you want, how about it, right?
Right.
Because that's where it's going to take you.
I wish you good luck.
Yeah,
yes.
It's going to take, or it's also going to take you to the grave.
To the grave.
Yeah.
Like, not, and here's the part that really gets to me, is not everyone has been blessed like I.
Right. How many people that you've known have succumbed?
Since I got clean, hundreds.
I stopped counting when I got out of jail. Like, the people I was locked up with, when it got to about 50, I was going to say
the first year, like, after that first year, I got jaded because Facebook was like, oh, this person passed. And, like, I literally was going to funeral after funeral after. It was like every week. Right. 3 funerals a week.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm maxed out on my personal Facebook page.
Yeah.
You know, 5,000 is the max.
Right.
I like, throughout the years, like, I just like, all right, let me scroll through and clean it up, and I'll be like, well, he's dead.
Yeah.
We'll take him off. She's dead. Take him off. He's dead. Take him off. Unfriend this one. They're dead. Unfriend that one.
Yeah.
And, you know, just like,
just
every 6 months I would go through and clean it up of all the overdose deaths.
Yeah.
I mean, so not everybody, you'd be lucky if living under a bridge for 9 months was as bad as it got.
I mean,
you know?
Here's the thing. I was expecting to die in the cold, like under a bridge. Like, it was cold, but I didn't die.
What, let's close out with, like, what keeps you sane now? What keeps you healthy now? What do you do in your daily life, you know, that has you on a different path from the path you had been on?
I mean, I don't start any day without thanking God. Like, even if it's just a basic, good morning, God, thank you for another day.
Right.
Because I'm breathing air.
Me too.
You know? But then it gets more involved on certain days. It's like, oh, please, bless those who are less fortunate, and please, forgive my trespassers. Just like I've been taught.
There's going to be somebody out there. There's going to be several people, many people who are stuck in their pain and be like, he had this horrible stuff done to him like I did, and yet he can, to this mystical God, they call it, give thanks. What the hell has he got to be thankful for the crap he went through? Like, somebody's going to be like, what do I got to give thanks for?
I've got that beautiful little girl in there.
Right.
I've got 2 other beautiful girls. I've got today.
And you're not living under a bridge.
Right. I have a house.
Right.
Like, I came here in a nice car, even though that doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm unemployed, but listen, my worst days are still better than my best days.
On drugs. My worst days now, let people hear that. My worst days now are still better than my best days when I was getting high.
Absolutely.
What else do you do?
So, as I said, I started working in treatment. I found a passion. It's a little difficult. Because...
And I would call that giving back.
Well, yeah.
You have to find a way to give back.
And I love doing it, but because of my criminal record, these days, is it easier for felons to get employment? Absolutely. Hands down, yes. It is easier for, a child abuser or a rapist or a murderer even to get a job than if you are a thief. If you are a convicted thief, no one wants to hire you. Right. The only way I get jobs is like if I have someone on the inside. But again, I still love doing it. I would volunteer doing it right now. You know what I mean? It's not about the paycheck. Right. I love the people. I love, helping guide them through their little fucked up path. Yeah. Like someone did for me.
Right.
Like, you gotta pay it forward.
Right.
Gotta.
Right.
So how do I do it? This immense glowing, like, it's a feeling. The same as when you get goosebumps. Those goosebumps guide me these days. I have a spiritual, like, what do you call it? Radar, that, like, no, don't go down that road. And it's like, wow, I have spiritual GPS now.
Right.
And all I had to do was open my eyes. Open my ears, shut my mouth.
And isn't meditation a big part of your journey now?
Meditation is huge. I do it every morning and every night. I do yoga. 6'3", 250, muscular guy doing yoga, covered in tattoo, felon, right. Sitting there, cross-legged with incense burning and meditation music playing in the background. The second it goes on, this one goes, again? Yeah, twice a day. Awesome. Because in order for me to live my life the way I live it today, I have to do those things.
Positive things.
If I miss one, even say I don't say thank you, God, in the morning, my whole day goes rotten instantly. It's so weird how my eyes were closed to all of this stuff. And now it's like right in front of you. I was blind, but now I see. Yeah. So true. So true.
Awesome. How can people find you after they listen to the podcast if they want to reach out to you?
Well, I'm a pretty simple guy. My name is out there on Facebook, Sean Miller. Pretty much, I think it's Faux Cheesy on Instagram.
And we'll put the links.
Yeah, we'll put the
afterwards.
links. Yeah,
But people can find you on Facebook or Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Absolutely.
All right. It's been an amazing journey you've been on.
I love it. I wouldn't be this person if it wasn't for the journey.
For everything.
Yeah. I needed that.
and for you to come on and be open and honest about the crap you went through and the journey through hell on drugs.
Well, like you said, when we last spoke, we had done another little situation a couple years back, and I was a shy speaker.
Yeah.
I was very red-faced and nervous, and I watch it now, and I'm like, so much information was left out,
Right. Yeah.
And I needed this.
Right.
I needed this.
And it's just like I do this because I want the person in the audience who is stuck still from what happened to them as a child. I mean, look, a father molesting you, a father making you lick your urine off the toilet seat. I mean, and my other guests, what they had to do, Christina, tied up at 3 years old, anally raped, and then a gun jammed in her mouth by a relative to keep her silent.
But keeping these secrets is what keeps us sick.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So
it frees you.
So people are coming on.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to be like, why would he share that? Why would Christina share? To free yourself.
Absolutely.
It's holding on to that torment, that memory that torments you. It's holding on to it, which is keeping you hostage.
Absolutely.
And people will reach out to me every day. How can I move forward? Well, stop holding.
And that's exactly what I was
break your silence.
That's what I was just going to say is like, if you feel shame, don't. If you feel guilt, don't. Like, if you have no one else to talk to, reach out to me at one of my many social medias. I will answer. I care. If no one else cares, I do.
Awesome. Thank you, bro.
You're welcome.
I appreciate
Thank you.
I appreciate
I love
it.
this.
Yeah. Great job,
great.
man. All right.
All right.
Wow, everybody.
Woo.
Yeah. An amazing journey Sean's been on. I appreciate each and every one of my guests that come on and speak their truth. And I hope he leaves here a little lighter on his feet. And I just want my guests to be free. And I want you all to get valuable tools to handle your dark periods. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.